She lives in, she lives in, she lives.
Good morning, y'all. It is Friday, May 9th. It is 5:53 in the morning. I am up for the time being. Working overnight has my sleep schedule, my body just on a totally different time frame, and I'm ready for the phase of my life where I'm working overnight to be over. But this video is not about that. So if you haven't noticed, and if you've been here for a minute, I've actually been pretty consistent with uploading at least once a week. I think every month I take at least 1 week off in between of not uploading anything, but that's usually because I have some things going on that require a little bit more of my attention. But I always have a video in the vault, a few videos queued up to be ready to put out. So I'm always working, even if I'm not on here. But it's been a minute since I've done a reading vlog. I've been consistent with my reading wrap-ups. I've been sprinkling more hair videos back in, and I'm glad to be back on that. But I haven't done a reading vlog since March. And I think the last reading vlog went up either at the end of March or the beginning of April, but it was still filmed in March. So since I read The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store and The Coldest Winter Ever, I have not turned on the camera and read and talked about my books outside of the wrap-up, if that makes sense. Today, we are going to try to start a reading vlog. Since I'm working now, it's a little bit different because when I did start my reading vlogs, I was unemployed, so I just had a whole bunch of time. I'm interested in seeing how I'm going to be able to fit turning on my camera for reading into my schedule, because most of my books that I've been consuming lately since I've been working is through audiobooks while at work, and I haven't really had the time to just stop and talk, not feeling like turning on my camera at 2 a.m. during my lunch break. So now, just to give y'all a little catch up on what I have been reading, about 2 or 3 days ago I finished reading Losing Control by Lady Nisha. Read that. I wish it would have been in one sitting, but I had to go to work. But I pretty much read it within I would say like a span of 12 hours, because I didn't pick up any other book. One thing about me, I'll start one book, but I'm also reading like 2 to 3 other books while reading that book. I only read Losing Control by itself. I did not pick up, look at, start, continue another book until I finished it. It was 617 pages and I loved it. It was good. It was funny. And it's been a minute since I've read a funny book. The last funny book I can think of was Must Love Books by Shauna Robinson, but it was funny all the way through. Every character was hilarious. It kept me engaged. It is more like urban romance and I loved it. There's actually a novella, I believe. Novella might not be the right word, but there is a shorter book that's a continuation of the characters Marley and Caesar. So I really liked that book, gave it 5 stars, and it was so good that I was like, is this gonna put me in a slump? Because in my review on Goodreads, I said that it was a good book if you're trying to get out of a slump. But it's kind of good to the point to where, or engaging to the point to where it might put you in a slump. So after that, I read The 7-10 Split by Carmen Lee, and I gave that book like a 3.25, 3.5 stars. It was pretty good. It's a sapphic romance, slow burn, and I just love the way that chemistry and tension is depicted in sapphic romances. I feel like you can feel the chemistry and the tension through the pages. I don't know, but I enjoyed that book. It was pretty cool. And after that, I read Copycat by Kimberla Lawson Roby. I have a lot of her books on my TBR. This is my first one that I've read, and I don't know if you can tell, I did tab it just a little bit. And this was a pretty short story. It's about this woman, Simone. She's an aspiring writer. She meets this other published author named Tracy, and she basically starts to become obsessed with her in a way that she starts copying everything that Tracy's doing. Simone's ultimate goal is to meet a published writer and become a published writer herself, but she has no real sense of identity. I guess in her mind, in order for her to achieve this goal of hers, she has to follow Tracy's blueprint down to like her appearance, the way that she speaks. And the funny thing about it is that Tracy actually wrote a book called Copycat about a woman who was copying her friend, and I found that very interesting. There were parts, not to tell too much of the story, but like anytime there was a part in the story where somebody mentioned Copycat, like they talked about Tracy's book Copycat, or another character in passing mentions the importance of like having your own identity, Simone would be like, that doesn't really resonate with me. Like I didn't really get it. I didn't really like it. And I found that so interesting, because it's like, girl, you like everything else this girl like, but when she started talking that real, you like, But it was a pretty decent book. I think I rated it 3.5 stars, so it wasn't bad for my first read. I did look at the reviews on Goodreads, which I shouldn't have before I started to read it, and there were some negative reviews. People were saying it was kind of elementary and juvenile the way that it was written, but it is a short story and it is Christian fiction, so I feel like it didn't really need to be super fleshed out. Like, you still get the gist. It does refer to a lot of scripture, and it does mention a few sermons from church. So if you are into Christian fiction, I would recommend this book. It's not graphic, it's not bloody, not gory. There's no sex, no violence, anything like that. It's just, you know, some, I wouldn't say it's regular, but it probably is regular, but you know, just some regular mystery suspense with some obsession. So this was the last book that I read. Next up on my queue of books to read, which is what I'm probably gonna start this video off reading, I have Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Legendborn by Tracy Dion. Honey and Spice by, I want to make sure I say her name right, Honey and Spice by Lola Babalola. And I think that is it for now. The reasons why I'm doing Infinity Alchemist and Honey and Spice, I do have the advanced reader copies of Sweet Heat, which is the sequel to Honey and Spice, and I have the advanced reader copy of Chaos King, so I kind of need to get those out the way and get my reviews public, you know, put through NetGalley. If you don't already know, Chaos King is out. It did release on April 15th, and the crazy thing is, like, they approved me for the e-arc like literally 2 days before it published. But I don't know why I requested it and I didn't even read Infinity Alchemist yet, but it ain't nothing to read a book. Now, I've seen some mixed reviews about it. Some people said that Infinity Alchemist is slow. I wanted to do a separate video for the Legendborn cycle, and I was actually going to go home and get my physical books and read from there. But when I was in Books A Million, I realized that the physical book text is like tiny. So I'd rather just read it on my Kindle. I am going to take a little break, let my camera charge up for a bit, and then by then I should figure out which book I want to read, and then we'll just go from there. It's elementary, okay. I can do that, I can do that. I am only 11 pages in, but I just had to pause to say something. So I've been reading digitally for years now, like since my grandma got her first Nook, which was the Nook color, and that was like back in 20 something. I was still in like middle school, high school when that came out, whatever. But I've always been a digital reader. I like physical books when I go to the library, but I like, you know, just reading on a screen. I didn't actually get into the e-ink e-readers until last year when Barnes & Noble sent me a coupon to get the Nook Glow Light 4E at a discount because the Nook color that my grandma gave to me was discontinued. So it was like their way of, I guess, transitioning you into newer software or whatever. So started using this Nook, and it's okay. It's a little slow. I don't like highlighting on this thing. It's very slow and it changes the pages slow. If I need to jump from chapter to chapter, it takes its time doing that. And I ended up getting a Kindle within like a month of buying this because most of my books are on Kindle, and of course I can read library books on there, and I just have the regular Kindle Basic. And I mean, it's not drastically faster, but there's a reason why I don't really pick this up often, and I feel bad because I don't want to forget about my Barnes & Noble books, but they need to make a better e-reader, or maybe I should have bought the better e-reader, I don't know. But highlighting on e-readers is a pain, especially as someone who likes to highlight in books that they read digitally, so I'm not really feeling that. But I am 11 pages into It's Elementary, and it's funny so far. It's about this mother, Mavis, and her daughter, Pearl, who goes to this elementary school in California. And I mean, I'm only like a few minutes. It's still setting the tone of the book, but basically Mavis was running late and she dropped Pearl off at school and she's trying to get to work, but the president of the PTA is like hounding her and talking to her because she's trying to get her to become the president of the the DEI president of the PTA. And that's not a spoiler, it is on the back of the book. And right now Mavis is talking to herself, or like basically having that inner monologue where she's mentioning how every Black woman, you know, every Black person is familiar with the term DEI, especially when we're approached by our white counterparts about holding DEI positions and things like that. And I'm enjoying the book already. I can just tell from the way that it's written and just some of the things that it's already talking about that it's gonna be very interesting. I found the synopsis pretty interesting when I saw it in the store yesterday, but I have good feelings about this book, and it's funny, so I like that too. I just ran across another funny part, but I'm trying to highlight it and I'm having a hard time on my e-reader, and it's frustrating me. Mavis is trying to justify agreeing to being a part of this DEI program for the PTA, and she's thinking to herself, and she said this line that just made me laugh out loud. I'll be like that bag of mixed greens you pick up at Trader Joe's every week but never actually use, just here to make you feel good about yourself. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I really like the personality of the main character because, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can see where that feeling is relatable, where it's just like, you just want to be a good parent. You want to make sure your child gets to school, they have a good education, they have a good life. You're really not trying to do all that in-between stuff, but at the same time, the in-between things, if that can contribute to your child having a better life, then you know what? Let's do it. But I'm liking this book so far. I feel like any parent out there would like this book and find it very relatable, especially like the things that she's experiencing and her thoughts. And I'm only 13 pages in. I'm really not making that much progress, but so far I'm liking it. I'm gonna recommend it to my mom. I feel like she would like it. Okay, so it is Saturday the next day, and I did finish reading It's Elementary, which is the book that I started off reading at the beginning of this video. And I gave that book 5 stars. I will read a cozy mystery, but it's not really like a preference of mine. It's not really a favorite of mine because I feel like they can be hit and miss. They will have, you know, that mysterious element, somebody dies, somebody goes missing, who done it, we're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. But for me, they usually fall flat. It's Elementary did not fall flat at all. The book was hilarious. Mavis was relatable. She was hilarious. Okay, I loved her commentary. I loved when she let her intrusive thoughts win. Her daughter Pearl was just as comical, if not more comical than her mother, but you can definitely tell who she gets it from. Pearl kept me on my toes, kept me laughing out loud. I love this book. It did have a budding romance, but that romance did not overshadow the plot. And I personally feel like it kept me on my toes. Every time a new scandal was revealed or a new clue or detail was revealed, I found myself rethinking who the culprit was. So I enjoyed this, and I believe there's another book coming out in July. I think Mavis is in that book. I'm not entirely sure, but this is going to be a series from what I've seen on Goodreads, so I'm excited to read more. I love that book, 5 stars, and I recommend it to anybody, especially if you're into cozy mysteries. But I highly recommend it to parents because I feel like parents could probably relate to it more. I don't have any kids, so I found it relatable even though I don't have kids, but I know if I had kids it would resonate more for me. I actually recommended it to my mom because I think that she would like it because, I mean, it's dealing with parents, mainly moms, on the PTA for their children's elementary school. And on the outside looking in, it's just like, okay, it's just a group of parents that are trying to work together with the teachers and the administration to provide like a better educational experience for their children, but it gets a lot deeper than that. After that, I went to read The Relationship Mechanic by Carmen Lee. I gave that book 4 stars, but it really was more like 3.5-ish for me. It is definitely the opposite of the 7-10 split. The 7-10 split was more of a slow burn. You got a lot more development in the relationship and just the characters individually before you got to the relationship itself or the action. In The Relationship Mechanic, it pretty much starts off as like a situationship, that slowly becomes something more. Like, you know how it is, you meet somebody, it's supposed to be like a one night stand, here for the moment type thing, and then as time goes on, you guys spend more time together, you find yourself starting to develop feelings for them and you don't know what you want to do with that. This book was steamy, very steamy compared to the last book, and I did not know what to expect from this book, but based off the 7-10 split, since there wasn't like a whole lot of spice and stuff, you could feel the tension, but the author made you kind of work for it. In the relationship mechanic, it was spicy from pretty much beginning to end. Like, they could not keep their hands off of each other, and at one point I was kind of getting frustrated because it's like, dang, like, I understand it's a situationship and it's friends with benefits, so of course the lust, the instant lust and the sex is going to overpower the foundation and, you know, the desire to build a real relationship. But it frustrated me because I'm like, dang, okay, Jessica, chill. You can't keep your hands off Vinny. Like, I understand that there's sexual attention and desire and attraction, but like, can y'all just keep your hands to yourselves and just have a real conversation? Because I mean, there are moments where you're in the character's head, so you know that clearly they are considering more, but they're afraid of the possibility of asking for it, and that was really frustrating me. But maybe that was intentional because it was a situationship, friends with benefits type dynamic, and those are emotions that people in those dynamics experience. Oh, this is so lust-based and I can't keep my hands off you, but at the same time I want more, but I don't know how to go about bringing that up without ruining what we have, and it was okay. Let's just put it like that. So after I finished that, I started on 2 books. I started on The Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender and The Perfect Ruin by Shanora Williams. I have read The Perfect Ruin before. I read this back in, I think, 2022, and I just decided to do a reread because I do have the e-arc for Whispers of the Lake, and I also want to read The Bitter Truth, so I ended up picking that back up. This time around though, I'm listening to it. The first time I only read it in my ebook, so going from reading it and like imagining how the characters look and sound in my head to actually listening to an audiobook, it definitely kind of changes how I view the story. The audiobook is engaging enough because I mean, the storyline itself is engaging. I know what's going to happen for the most part, but I mean, I'm not a person that minds spoilers, so even if I go in knowing what's happening, it still feels like, not like I'm going in blind entirely, but like the pieces are falling together, if that makes sense. The narrator isn't necessarily my favorite narrator, she's just okay, but I'm like close to maybe halfway through with that book. I put it on pause. I might listen to it for a little bit before I get ready to go to bed, but when I go to work tonight, I'm probably going to listen to it at work. I got about 2 hours and 30 minutes left on that, and right now I am reading The Infinity Alchemist. I just made it to like page 102. This is a book that I've started and put down within the last month multiple times, and I could not make it past like the first 2 or 3 pages. I've tried the audiobook like 5 times, but the narrator cannot hold my attention. Even if I'm listening while reading, like, I just zone out. So last night I tried to give it my full attention and I just sat and I read it, and I probably made it maybe 2 or 3 chapters in before my eyelids started getting heavy. And as I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is slow and it's kind of boring. And maybe that's on me because I'm used to fantasy books where you get a little bit of an introduction in the beginning, but then you're kind of just like thrown into the action. The way that it sets the scene is just like a lot more impactful, and I feel like the way that the tone and the scene was set in the beginning of Infinity Alchemist, it was just kind of slow. So now that I'm 100 pages in, I think I'm on either chapter 11 or 12, it's starting to build up. I find myself getting bored whenever Ash, which is the main character, is talking to Ramsey, which is like his teacher slash mentor in this book. You kind of have to read the book to fully understand their dynamic, but I believe it is talked about in the synopsis. Ramsey works at the college that Ash works at, and Ramsey is a licensed alchemist. Ash is not a licensed alchemist. He technically practices illegally. If you're not a licensed alchemist, if you practice above, I think it's tier 3 alchemy, it's technically illegal, and like you can be in prison for it, you can be killed for it. They have to report you for doing that. So basically, Ash is caught in Ramsey's office performing alchemy, and Ramsey gives Ash 2 options. Either I turn you into the Reds and you go to jail for doing illegal activities, or you come be my apprentice and you help me find the Book of Source, which is like this all-powerful book which gives the alchemist who reads it this immense power to just bend dimensions and realities and things like that. So it's like a dangerous book that Ramsey is looking for, and they see the power in Ash and they're like, you know what, let me take you under my wing. I can teach you alchemy, help you get your license as long as you help me find this book. As they are looking for this book, there are other people looking for this book, and one of those people looking for this book is Ash's father, Gresham Hain. Ash knows Gresham is his father. At this point in the story, we don't know if Gresham knows that Ash is his son. Gresham is also looking for the Book of Source. And from what I've read so far, I'm assuming he's a bad guy. But in this book, it's kind of hard to tell like who is good and who is bad. But maybe there's a reason for that because life isn't so black and white. So it's slowly picking up. I can see myself finishing it. And this is definitely one of those books that I am forced to give my attention to. I have to really sit down and pay attention and read it because I'm not doing any type of immersive experience, which is rare for me when it comes to fantasy. So this is an adjustment, but I am liking it so far. It's just slow. It has its slow moments. When it's not a scene with Ash and Ramsey, I feel like it's progressing enough. It's keeping me interested enough because I'm like, okay, I want to know what happens next. But once we get to a chapter or a moment in a chapter where Ramsey and Ash are talking, I'm just like, okay, can we wrap this up? So hopefully it starts to pick up after this. Maybe I'm not being patient enough, but I'm like almost 30% through the book and we ain't started no type of training in alchemy. Like, let's work on refining these skills. So I'm going to get back to that, see how that goes, and probably check back in later on. Good morning. It is Monday, May 12th. It's 7:45 a.m. I just got off work about 40 minutes ago and today drained me. Last time we talked, I think I was still reading The Perfect Ruin and I was like 100 pages into Infinity Alchemist. I have not made any progress from Infinity Alchemist since the last time we talked. I did put it down for a minute, but I'm gonna pick it back up within the next day or so. I did finish The Perfect Ruin, and when I read it in 2022, I gave it 5 stars. Listening to it this go round, I dropped that rating from 5 stars to 3 stars just because it was okay. As I'm listening to the story, even though I've read it before, I knew like who the mastermind was by the time we got to the end of the book. Well, before we even got to the end of the book, I knew who the mastermind was, but I had forgot all the details. I just feel like it could have been executed a little bit better. After I completed that book, I did listen to The Bitter Truth, which I feel like was an improvement from The Perfect Ruin. That one was actually a little bit more engaging, I would say. Like, The Perfect Ruin the first time around was more engaging because it was just like crazy obsession, you know? And it's like, tell me more. But The Bitter Truth, even though I feel like at one point it got a little confusing, The Bitter Truth, because there were so many secrets, I was like, this is a little bit more interesting. I think I gave that one like a 3.75 stars. So after I finished The Bitter Truth, I started The Secret World of Maggie Gray by Granger. And that's a book that's on Kindle Unlimited. It's basically about this girl. She's born with all white hair and she gets accepted into this university for Black supernatural people. She knows a little bit about her family history from what her grandmother told her, but she doesn't know like her true lineage, and she's trying to figure out why she was invited to be at this school, because to her knowledge she's just a regular Black girl with white hair, and there's a lot more history behind the white hair that she has. And it's actually very interesting. I have the audiobook just dropped recently, I want to say, and book 2, which is The First Family, the audiobook for that actually drops tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. It's kind of what I've been missing from fantasy books, especially fantasy books that involve like Black vampires, Black supernatural beings in an academic setting. Probably about 80% done with that book, and I really like it. I really like it. Like, I wasn't able to put it down when I first started it. I actually fell asleep reading it and I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to start book 2. And I'm hoping and praying that it's a long series. I am a person where like if a book is good enough, I like to be invested in the characters. I like multiple books in a series. And when I say multiple, I mean more than 3 or 4. I love Ashley Antoinette because she will write 10+ books on one set of characters or one family. And I like how just fleshed out it is. if I'm interested enough in a character or a set of characters, I need to know more beyond what's in this one book. Tell me more. And with the way that the world is set up in the secret world of Maggie Gray, there's so much lore that could be explored, especially because it's not limited to just one group of supernatural beings. Like, there's so many different supernatural beings in this book. And I'm like, man, if this turns into a long series, I won't even be mad. I won't even be mad at all. Book 2 is like 517 pages. I'm gonna eat that up, okay? Other than that, that's all that I've been reading. I might go ahead and close out this video with this clip because I don't really have anything else that I want to add on to it. I am drained from work, and I know I was just talking in another video about how grateful I am to be working again and to have a job, but I do not like my job. It stresses me out and it frustrates me and it irritates me and it breaks me down, and I just need to take a step away from the job permanently, but just a step away. When I come home, after I pray and I talk to my mom, other than relaxing, like, I really just want to be at home with my books. I really want to go to the library right now, but it's too early, and by the time the library opens, I'll probably be dozing off, getting ready to go to sleep to prepare for the work shift tonight. And I feel like it's taking me away from that. Like, I can't, even though I'm off when the library is open, I can't go to the library like I want to without sacrificing my sleep. And I unfortunately work a job that requires a lot of energy, so if I sacrifice my sleep, then I'm gonna be slow when it's time to go to work. Other than that, I think it's been a pretty good reading week for me, and this isn't my most interesting reading vlog, but soon we will be back on it. I'm gonna have to let this job go because it's getting in the way of everything else. I feel like that's why this vlog is kind of just meh, but I'm gonna still get it out there. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for your time and attention, because you could be anywhere else doing anything else, but instead you're right here with me, and I sincerely, genuinely appreciate that so much. I will catch y'all in the next one.